Hey everyone, it's DylanLasagna here, host of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. Now, before we get into this video ramble rant of sorts, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified of every single video episode of this podcast that goes up and any other video of sorts that goes up here. And if you like your podcast in an audio format, make sure to listen to me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and you'll get your very cold needs there. And follow me on Twitter at Very Cold Lasagna, so you'll be updated with what's going on with the podcast and check out my interests outside of it. So with that being said, let's get right into it on the topic of this video, and that's about Edge winning the Royal Rumble. Now, if you haven't known already, if you're a casual on the brink of horror wrestling fan like me, Edge, Adam Copeland, won the Royal Rumble on Sunday, January 31st, 2021, and I was happy about it. The Hall of Famer, the Rated R Hall of Famer, entered number one, started the match with Randy Orton, and actually outlasted 29 other wrestlers to win the men's Royal Rumble match, and got himself a championship opportunity of his choosing, whether it's the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. So he started his little tour of who am I going to pick, or let's make the champion little tense on Raw this past Monday by confronting Drew McIntyre. So he's going to continue on with that on SmackDown this week. Well, it's not confirmed yet, but he'll probably do so. And he even is going to visit NXT this Wednesday, and he'll probably confront the champion Finn Balor. But that's not what I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to be talking about the reaction to it. Now, a lot of it was good. A lot of people were loving it, were liking the victory by Edge. I personally loved it. I thought it was a very wise decision by WWE to have Edge win the Royal Rumble. And I'll get to my reasoning in a second, because I don't think I ever got to it in the review on when it went up on Monday. But I want to point out mostly the negative reaction that it somewhat got. Now, this is kind of weird. I really do find it Edge win Rumble getting some criticism. Now, granted, not everything comes positively. People were on the internet, whether it's on YouTube or on Twitter, they were actually getting upset that Edge won the Royal Rumble. A lot of wrestling influencers, what as you call them, were getting upset that the WWE has a trust issue with wrestlers under 50, and that a certain wrestler has a better story to win the Royal Rumble, has a better claim to win the Royal Rumble than Edge does. And I just find that weird. Which wrestler is more deserving to win it than Edge, who is technically, yes, a part-timer, but could actually wrestle, can cut great promos, can cut the most great promos, if that's even a word, a sentence. One of the best promos out of the entire WWE roster, and actually has a character, something that almost the entire roster lacks in today's WWE. Whether it's in Raw, SmackDown, NXT, besides Edge, Roman Reigns is the only one with a very interesting character. No one else has that. So I'm just wondering who was the internet favoring to win this Royal Rumble match. Enter in the chat Daniel Bryan, everyone's favorite yes man. Yes, Daniel Bryan. Now, granted, I like Daniel Bryan. He's not bad. I liked him when in his prime, back in 2012 when he was with Team Hell No. Back when he was first starting, the whole yes gimmick, when he was being really cocky because it was just so fun to hate Daniel Bryan. This whole arrogant attitude, especially when he was, like quote unquote dating AJ Lee in storyline, and then especially when he started the whole like yes movement against the Authority. But like after the whole Planet's Champion vegan gimmick in 2018 and then 2019, he didn't do anything. He didn't have a character. He didn't have a gimmick. His promos were not like the ones in the past. He just kind of gave up. He didn't have that same fire that he had back then. So, yet people were still clamoring for Daniel Bryan to win the whole Royal Rumble and face most likely Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, Daniel Bryan cut this promo on how he wanted to win the Royal Rumble because he's near the end of his full-time wrestling career. Now, I don't know. Is that really enough? Is that really enough to stake your claim to a Rumble victory? Personally, there's not really much of a story that you can fall on for that. And even when the announcers were talking about it, they didn't really touch on it that much. And sadly, Daniel Bryan didn't even make it to the final four. He was eliminated by Seth Rollins. Daniel Bryan was the sixth man out in that Royal Rumble match. So you're telling me that Daniel Bryan deserved to win that Royal Rumble match after being the sixth man out? Really? Really, internet? Now, to be fair to Daniel Bryan, if creative really wants to book him to be in a world title match at WrestleMania, I guess they still have an opportunity to do so, whether it's through the Elimination Chamber or some kind of number one contender tournament. I guess if WWE really wants to, then they can do so. Do the Elimination Chamber or a tournament. But I'm still in the belief, and this is just my opinion, that Daniel Bryan, in this version of him, what has he done to deserve it? All he's done in 2020 and in January was be at home with Brie, understandably, because he didn't want to wrestle during COVID. And earlier last month, he was humping Otis. Oh yeah, Otis liked that stuff from Daniel Bryan. Yes. I feel like Edge deserved this Rumble win more than Daniel Bryan because the biggest thing is that Edge has the more compelling story than Daniel Bryan. Unlike the wrestling influencers that don't claim that Edge doesn't have. Edge, unlike Daniel Bryan, won the Royal Rumble, and when Edge retired in 2011 and after WrestleMania 27, he also had to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship when he retired. So when Edge returned on Raw in, I think it was the Monday before the Royal Rumble, he clearly stated in that really great promo that he wanted to win back the world title. Obviously, the World Heavyweight title doesn't exist, but it's a world title nonetheless. The world title that he never lost. He technically never lost that World Heavyweight Championship back in 2011. He had to give it up because he had to retire due to that neck injury that cost him 9 years of his life. Not 9 years of not life, but wrestling career. But you get the point. So, Edge returns in 2020, and this is all part of his comeback story. Edge returns in 2020, and no, he's not being shoved down our throats. Edge returns in 2020. He has 2 matches, all with Randy Orton, at WrestleMania in a Last Man Standing match, and in a actual wrestling match, albeit pre-recorded, and it gets halted due to a real tricep tear that he suffers during the recording. So his comeback story is halted, and this is something that he could talk about when whoever he faces at WrestleMania. whether it's Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns. He could talk about his comeback story and how it was derailed, but that motivated him to win, to come back and win the Royal Rumble, and again move on and finish Randy Orton. So he could use that like as a story element. That's why I thought like the story is the biggest thing and the biggest reason why Edge deserved to win that Royal Rumble. Now, another thing is that again, Edge is a better promo. Edge has a great character. Edge has the great assets that has a great personality traits that Daniel Bryan doesn't possess, that actually most of the roster doesn't possess, because either creative doesn't want to tap into their potentials or the roster lacks that potential. The wrestlers themselves lack that potential. So, like, yes, WWE is kind of, in fairness, hurting the long term by going to short term, but at the same time, who did WWE have? Like, which option did WWE have for the long term going forward? Like, realistically, outside of Edge and Daniel Bryan, nobody was left other than, I guess you could say, Big E, but he was already Intercontinental Champion. And I already have one idea that Big E can have for a match at WrestleMania that involves the Intercontinental Championship, but we'll get to that down the line when we get to some WrestleMania talk. Edge has even more like uncertainty, but also brings up more possibilities for Edge's WrestleMania like matchup, whether it's against Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns. Now with Drew McIntyre, I think that it's going to be a good matchup if he faces Edge, goes up against Drew McIntyre, but I have some concerns. Both are baby faces, and I just don't see any one of them turning going villain. In other words, heel in professional wrestling. Edge has this good comeback story that he wants to complete, and that's if WWE wants to capitalize on it. And Drew McIntyre has been okay as WWE champion. He's been a good face, a good hero role, in a good hero role. But the problem is that WWE doesn't doesn't tap into his potential. He doesn't Drew McIntyre can talk. Drew McIntyre can walk, but creative just keeps putting him into these weird situations. But nonetheless, Edge versus Drew McIntyre could be a good matchup, like in the ring, but going up to it, it would be tricky to like have these promos going at each other when they're both baby faces, and I just don't like having one of them, especially McIntyre, turning heel. Now with Roman Reigns on the other hand for the Universal Championship, that's a matchup that would be great to see. That would be awesome to see, and I think it could even get the media like involved, like with ESPN, Fox Sports, like savoring over this matchup. Obviously, Michael Cole's probably going to be savoring the spear versus spear tagline that was supposed to be used last year when Goldberg and Roman Reigns were supposed to face each other. But outside of that, like this feud, if it happens, Roman Reigns versus versus Edge for the Universal title are going to have so many good promos, especially with Roman Reigns talking down on Edge's comeback story, with Roman Reigns possibly mentioning how he has to provide food for his family, putting food on the table, but Edge can immediately rebut that, whatever, with having to provide food on the table for his own family. You know, in this terms, his wife and other Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix and their children. So that's something that Edge can instantly counter with. I feel like this would be a really compelling, more interesting money feud between Edge and Roman Reigns. So, like, again, either title match for Edge works, and that's another reason why Edge is the more deserving Money in the Bank not Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble winner than Daniel Bryan. Again, with Daniel Bryan, the only thing going for him is the match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and if Daniel Bryan wins that match, it really hurts Roman Reigns' character. It hurts his stock as with the heel gimmick that's been red hot for him. At least with Edge, if he loses, if WWE books him to lose at WrestleMania, whether it's against Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns, Edge gives him that rub. Like Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns get that credibility of beating like a legend at WrestleMania that still can actually wrestle. That still can actually wrestle. So that's why, in my opinion, Edge deserves to win the Royal Rumble, and people should not be complaining about it. But again, it's their opinions, but this is my opinion on why Edge deserves to win the Royal Rumble and why fans should not be complaining about it. So, an opinion to counter people's opinions. But anyway, what do you guys think about Edge winning the Royal Rumble? Does it deserve some merit? Does Edge winning the Royal Rumble deserve some merit? Did Edge really deserve to win it, or did you think Daniel Bryan or someone else younger than Daniel Bryan, or maybe even older than Daniel Bryan, that's not Edge, deserve to win it? Let me know in the comments below on YouTube, because I mean this is exclusive to YouTube anyway. But point still stands. Edge deserved to win this Royal Rumble. I just don't know why fans are complaining about it. Probably just to get some attention. But not, they're probably getting the wrong kind of attention. But nonetheless, thank you all for watching this video. I'm DylanLasagna, host of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. Make sure to subscribe, all that stuff. Hopefully, Edge picks the right person to face at WrestleMania, and Edge deserved to win. That's final. Edge deserved to win the 2021 Royal Rumble, and that's final. And what is final is the end of this video. And I will see you all in the next one. Keep your takes on sports very cold, and take care.